Marla Jameson has been murdered in front of her husband, Spider-Man, and her loved ones. Jonah holds his wife, lifeless in his arms, finally not blaming Spider-Man, only himself. An alarm blares, but nobody wakes up. Jonah has been up all night, reliving his wife's death over and over in his head. Jameson feels nothing, completely empty, not being able to fully process that the person who once laid next to him every night and woke up next to him every morning was no longer there, only getting out of bed for her, only shaving for her, everything for her. Across town, Peter Parker solemnly puts on his spider suit underneath his black tie, taking a moment to stop, leaving his suit atop his bed, feeling unworthy for letting a human being die under his watch. At the Daily Bugle, Robbie supervises the article about to be released regarding the death of their former boss's wife before leaving with his family. All of Jonah's family, loved ones, and anyone he ever inspired or assisted in life begins to arrive en masse to support him during the most difficult time of his life. But despite the support in the seats on either side of the aisle, he walks alone, a path only he can walk. Jonah stands atop the hill at Marla's grave, alone again. Peter can only stare, unable to muster the strength to say something. The guilt of, perhaps, being able to stop this from happening absorbing him. Peter lays awake staring at the ceiling until he awakens in a dream. He knows where he is almost immediately, where his second life started, where Uncle Ben died and Spider-Man was born. The lone thief he could have stopped, being the life and death of them both. Ben, in a blood-soaked button-up, pleads for Peter to let it go, with the thief that started it all leading Peter to the man he killed. But Peter is now looking into his childhood home, where Ben says he's with family. Sitting at the table, his parents are eating breakfast, only to turn around, revealing to Peter that it's been too long. He doesn't even remember their faces anymore, that he only thinks of May and Ben as his parents now. Across the table, he sees a face he knows down to the last freckle. The thief, Ben, Peter's parents, all getting onto a plane to go to the same place, because dead is dead. Peter screams to them that it's not fair that they all get to go to the same place, with a voice from behind telling him to stop making such a fuss. Aunt May begins walking past, saying they all have their time, with Peter grabbing her arm, telling her that he won't let her go too, but the face that turned back towards him isn't May, it's Marla, telling him that if she was May, he would have found a way to save her. She begins walking up the staircase, stating that it's okay, because she used to build spider slayers, making her a supervillain, and supervillains always come back, with Peter belting back that she's not a villain, she's a good person. As her silhouette passes through the doorway, covered in spiders, she says she must really be dead then. Peter exits the door in pursuit, seeing a twisted New York made of the memories of every person he ever let die. He chases through the deceased, seeing Gwen, attempting to get her attention through the crowd until he is stopped by a woman, asking if he remembers her, if he remembers the woman he killed. Peter drops down to his knees, everything and everyone else fading away. The only life he's ever taken stands before him. He pleads with her that he tried to forget, that she tricked him into killing her, but it doesn't matter. He never meant to. That's not who he is. A cackle responds, causing Peter to look to the sky, seeing Norman holding Gwen's lifeless body, saying that that isn't true, is it? It is who he is. The mask is on. The gloves are off. As Peter leaps to the Goblin, the Green Menace taunts Spider-Man, that if he was honest with himself, he'd admit he wanted to kill him. Peter lands on Norman, saying he will this time, but a distorted voice, through tangled vocal cords, tells Peter that he couldn't. Was her life not worth enough for him to do it? But he tells her he wanted to more than anything. But he's interrupted by Norman once again, hanging from his own glider, saying that he wasn't man enough, so the Goblin had to take it into his own hands. Green Goblin jets away with Gwen as Peter desperately reaches out to her, only to be grabbed by a hand, taunting him once again. His deceased villains begin rising out of their graves, with Peter asking why they won't stay dead, to which they respond that they get to cheat. They get to use tricks, and that's why one day they will win, because they keep coming back. But to Spider-Man's horror, they are all shot repeatedly from out of view. Turning around inside of a diner now, he sees Scourge on the counter, killing all the villains that made Peter's social life hell. In the opposite side of the diner, he sees the Punisher kill Stiltman, someone that doesn't hurt anyone. As Peter turns around once again, he sees Wolverine killing a hero just because he got in Logan's way. How far does killing go once it starts? The TV turns on, showing someone he admires. Captain America looking back at Peter, talking directly to him as he reports the news, asking if Peter really thought he didn't kill Nazis back in the day. But this just in, Sentry has apprehended Carnage, taking him to space, ripping him in half. He tells Peter he's only doing what should have been done long ago. How many times did he break out? How many people did he kill? Sentry tells Peter that those deaths are on his head. He tells Sentry that killing made him into the Void, the one thing he didn't want to be. He was corrupted, but Sentry just looks back, transforming into a corrupted form, telling him that he wouldn't change a thing. Could Peter say the same? He comes out of the darkness to reveal a familiar scenario. This time will be different though, no holding back. The man who made Spider-Man lays on the ground, blood pooling, teeth flying, fists crashing against bone. With Parker convinced this is the only way to stop it all, laying on the ground is the man who made Peter, telling Pete that this is how he'd kill him and his memory, everything he ever taught him, the death of all his love, all his pride in Peter. Peter pleads with Ben that it'll never come to this, with a voice from the sidelines asking, if that's true, then tell them, what will you do now? Peter awakens, sweating and panicked, sitting straight up in bed. He looks back at his costume, wondering, what is next? Peter looks out across his city. He's done. He's done accepting things as they are. He swears, from now on, as long as he's around, no one dies.